What if payments could work anywhere, anytime? Beyond business working hours, beyond geographical limitations. What if money can be programmed to maximize impact and build meaningful applications? To break down barriers of technical and financial literacy, or even the limitations of network connectivity. What if assets, information, and value can flow seamlessly across borders? What if the financial ecosystem transition to Web3 can be accelerated to allow money to flow across payment networks and native blockchains? What if businesses could also be champions of the environment to alleviate climate change with open carbon credit markets? What if emerging economies can be at the forefront of digital innovation? StraitsX brings digital currencies to Southeast Asia through stablecoins, harnessing open source blockchains, distributed ledger technology to maximize growth and drive financial inclusion in the region. Harness benefits such as payment efficiency to sustainability with StraitsX stablecoins. XSGD and XIDR are interoperable and can be programmed, transacted 24/7 without the need for a third party. The future of money, now possible with StraitsX.
A warm welcome to this Knowledge Plenary session about real-world stablecoin application. My name is Emric Sali. I'm the co-creator and head of StraitsX, a pioneering payment infrastructure for digital assets in Southeast Asia. Notably, we are the issuer of the Singapore dollar stablecoin, XSGD, and the Indonesian rupiah stablecoin, XIDR. In this session today, we will uncover some of the real-world application for stablecoins that are in the work. We will also learn about the tangible benefits that stablecoins can bring to global trade and commerce. But before we get into that, let me briefly introduce StraitsX, starting with our vision. We believe that digital currencies will increasingly play a role in global trade and commerce. We are seeing increased adoption across a number of applications ranging from payroll of distributed teams, fundraising of startups, cross-border remittance, payments, corporate treasury, and many more. The incumbent money we know is diverse in nature. There are coins, there are banknotes, there are bank deposits, there is electronic money. Each type comes with a specific set of features, fitting a specific purpose, offering a payment experience that is unique. Similarly, we believe that the future of money will continue to be diverse with the emergence of new forms of electronic money running on new infrastructure. There will be open network stablecoins. There will be closed network stablecoins. There might be tokenized bank deposits. There might be CBDCs. Each of them represents a new set of features, enabling new purpose for money. Why do we believe so? Because different types of digital currencies offer different features. Some networks are public, some networks are private, some infrastructure are open source, some are proprietary. Similarly, some type of digital currencies exist in the form of an account, some exist in the form of a token. Because the features are different, different types of digital currencies are best suited for different applications. We'll not be using the same type of digital currencies if our goal is to enable micropayments versus large wholesale remittances. Similarly, domestic versus cross-border, B2B versus B2C, will justify the recourse to different types of digital currencies. We also believe that digital currencies will enable all of us to do new things with money. We'll be able to program it. We'll be able to settle it instantly. We'll be able to distribute it to all without the infrastructure constraints that we work with today. New applications running on new infrastructure can address frictions that are induced by incumbent systems. We all know these frictions. There is high fees, long settlement time, high settlement risk, high environmental cost, lack of inclusion. We believe that open network stablecoin will be suitable for some application of money, may not be suitable for others, and that's perfectly okay. But what we know for sure is that open network stablecoins will continue to drive innovation in the digital currency space. The spark that started the wave of innovation that we see today in digital currencies was started by stablecoins. And they will continue to lead because they're open, because they can continue to push the technical boundaries of what we can do with money. StraitsX is the issuer of open network stablecoins focusing on Southeast Asia. As of now, we have tokenized successfully 2 currencies, the Singapore dollar with our stablecoin XSGD, and the Indonesian rupiah with our stablecoin XIDR. Since their release on the Ethereum, Zilliqa, and Polygon blockchains, over 6 billion XSGD and 3 trillion XIDR have been transacted. This is only the beginning, because we are only at the beginning of enabling digital currencies and building applications. What are our objectives? We advocate for driving innovation in responsible ways. What does that mean? It means that we identify and quantify the benefits of leveraging stablecoins in trade and commerce. Should we use a stablecoin in the first place? Most often than not, the answer is no. Similarly, we apply distributed ledger technology only where it is best suited to deliver value. Do we need a blockchain for this? Most often than not, the answer is no. We can use an API. We can use something else. So we focus only where it can best deliver value for end user. We also develop real-world application with industry leaders. We know that it's going to take an entire ecosystem to enable a tokenized economy. So we partner, we build pilots so that we can scale rapidly. Lastly, we showcase live pilots such as today and to drive adoption and derive commercial value. So now that we've seen what StraitsX is, just a minute on what we are not, right? We are not the issuer of cryptocurrencies. We are not issuer of assets that are volatile in price. We are not advocating for a future without rules. We are not encouraging speculation in the digital asset space. We also don't believe that stablecoin can address all existing friction in payment. And lastly, we are not encouraging, at this stage, retail users to participate. Where we see benefits in at least 5 areas. Programmability, which is the ability to apply logic directly to the medium, to money, right? One example is money with an expiry date. If some of you have used the SFF voucher today, you've been user of XSGD, and by Friday night, it's going to expire. Financial inclusion, the ability to reach population that are currently excluded from traditional financial and payment systems. Interoperability, which is the ability for money to flow across multiple networks. Sustainability, the ability for payment to reduce its carbon emission and fight climate change. And lastly, payment efficiency, the ability to reduce cost, time, and risk for settlement. So today we'll be showcasing 3 real-world stablecoin applications that we're building with like-minded partners. These applications range from B2B to B2B2C. They have both domestic and cross-border application. And so it is my great honor to welcome on stage Romain from IDEMIA, Ashok from Mastercard, Sabrina from Hedera, and Mike from Carbon Seed. Welcome. Do you mind for each of you maybe to introduce yourself?
Thanks for having us. My name is Ashok. I lead the blockchain and digital assets practice for APAC for Mastercard.
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm from Carbon Seed, and we are a one-stop platform to democratize the carbon market.
Hi, I'm Romain Zanolo. I'm the MD for Asia Pacific for IDEMIA. We're a global leader in payment and identity.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Tashjian. I'm leading fintech and payments for the HBAR Foundation. The mission of the HBAR Foundation is to grow the ecosystem around the Hedera protocol. Great to be here.
Welcome to all of you. So let's dive right in. Payment, unfortunately, is not available to all equally today. To illustrate how stablecoin payment can happen anywhere, anytime, even without network connectivity, let's take a look at a project that we are currently building together with the Hedera and IDEMIA teams.
Imagine offline payments, except with all the convenience of digital payments. Contactless, convenient. Where not even the limitations of geography, no network connectivity, can stop seamless transactions from happening. Where the smallest businesses can become big. Where the young and old can comfortably take part in secure transactions. Imagine a world where stablecoin payments can be at the forefront of financial inclusion. StraitsX stablecoins leverage IDEMIA's technical capabilities and redemption on the Hedera ledger to offer offline payments, driving financial inclusion, higher payment efficiency, and savings on environmental costs. How can we make such interactions frictionless? How can we make every experience safe? Your identity is the key to securely accessing the future of finance. This is where our unique identity technologies come into play, to help you unlock the potential of stablecoins. To make payments at your favorite coffee shop with efficiency. To accept payments for your small business with lower transaction fees. Or to simply receive financial aid from institutions, programmed based on your needs. Discover how we can drive financial inclusion with programmable offline stablecoin payments.
So, Romain, this offline payment solution has the potential to drive financial inclusion significantly, especially in emerging countries. How do you imagine this could become a reality for millions?
Thank you, Emeric, for this question. If I step back a bit, at IDEMIA, we've been working on financial inclusion projects for decades, I think, being it in payment and identity. And there's many, many questions that are always the same coming back on how do you reach the mass around KYC, cost of distribution, cost of onboarding for the merchants. But if I step back a bit on this solution, we'll have four, I would say, main learning. The first one, and that's really the objective of this, I would say, project, which is working everywhere, anytime. So offline is basically the answer to that. We're using payment in our day-to-day life, cash, banknotes, payment. Can we imagine a world where we're moving to digital money and we're losing the convenience that we have today with physical cash, basically? It's totally impossible. We're not ready to accept outages, no network, being in dead zone. So I think offline is really a way to reach, I would say, the mass, and a key prerequisite. It's also something that has been discussed around, I would say, the world in the last 2-3 years. Many central banks are experimenting with CBDC, stablecoins, to see what they could do. And most of them are investigating this offline aspect and making this, I would say, a critical part of the discussion. So that's the first point. Second is on the cost itself. Of course, whenever we are speaking about inclusion, there's always a dimension on affordable devices and how do you make this a reality. So we are using in this POC the simple form of offline signature, which is a secure chip or security chip. So it could be a chip that you have in a physical banking card, in a SIM card, or even in a feature phone, because we need to onboard people for real inclusion that might not have a smartphone, in fact, in the end. And in the demo, we've used, I would say, a higher version of this, which is a biometric card. So we've used a card that has a fingerprint sensor on it that allows an extra layer of security and that allows also proof of life verification. I think this morning we were discussing a lot on PBM money. With this biometric aspect, you're able to verify the credential and that the person spending the money is actually the right one. The person receiving the subsidy is potentially the right one. That's the second point. Third aspect is around the KYC. So at IDEMIA, we're a technology enabler here. I would say the license wallet is of course StraitsX. So we are working with licensed wallets that are used to do the KYC part and onboard people. And I think there is the, I would say, traditional digital KYC that can be done from your house, but there is an important component of financial inclusion, which is assisted KYC. In the video, normally you've seen a convenience store with a person with a tablet. So we are bridging basically the physical and digital world by enabling a network of agents, a convenience store network, to basically onboard the people digitally on the network. And it has proven to be effective in many financial inclusion projects in the world. And working with licensed wallet is also a way to leverage the key component of smart contracts, and will be covered by Sabrina. But on the programmability of the money, we can keep offline some of the functionality or most of the functionality that are actually available with stablecoin and programmability of the money. And I think the last point, which is always key, is there are two people in the payment ecosystem. We, of course, need to be at the right price point on the merchant side. So merchant also needs to have devices that enables this for a true financial inclusion. You've seen two, I would say, use cases in the video. The first one was card to phone. So for people equipped with a smartphone, the merchant already has the device, so there is no extra device cost, basically, in this video. And for the second type, you've seen a second transaction in the video, which was a card-to-card transaction. So it seems, I would say, interesting, but it was coming with a small device where basically one person inserts the card, the other one taps the card, and it performs an offline signature where the money is basically, the signature is moving from one chip to another. So all those four aspects are necessary to enable financial inclusion and basically ensure that we can reach the mass with stablecoins in the future, in my opinion.
Thanks, Romain. I'm going to turn to Sabrina. Hedera is the blockchain of choice for this pilot. Can you tell us more about some of the key characteristics of Hedera, and maybe comment on the sustainability aspect as well?
Sure. So if you're looking to use a blockchain for payments, you need a network that scales, that's fast, that's affordable, and also that's green. So here I'm just going to touch upon some of the benefits of building this kind of solution on Hedera. So of course, performance is a prerequisite. So you could do up to 10,000 transactions per second on Hedera, and typically you'll get finality within 5 seconds. Security is also paramount, right? So we're holding ourselves to the highest level of security possible on a distributed system, which is asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerant. We're double denial of service attack resistant, which is also very important. And the network is highly stable. So that's kind of the base. Of course, you need the economics to work out. So we're known for our very low transaction fees. And our fees are predictable because they're actually priced in USD. So you're always going to pay 1/10 of a cent for a token transfer. Additionally, there's compliance issues, right? And so we're enabling new features that are compliance friendly. For example, you'll have the ability as your administrator to freeze an account that you think may be fraudulent. You could even wipe the token balance off of that account. So that's allowing a level of control that's usually not found in public ledger. And finally, sustainability. We're the greenest public ledger out there by far. And if I was to give an idea of how also it compares to centralized systems, to be the equivalent of the energy consumption of one swipe of a Visa card, it would take about 70 Hedera transactions. So the whole network itself is carbon negative because whatever little energy we use will actually offset.
Thanks, Sabrina. Maybe I'm going to turn back to Romain. So your solution, in addition of financial inclusion, comes with additional benefit. When it comes to lowering the cost for the merchant that are accepting the transaction, as well as some of the programmability features. Can you maybe share more about that?
Yeah, thank you, Emeric. So I think on the cost itself, there are two aspects I've covered. I think the first one, which is the device acceptance itself for the merchant. Of course, when you're a merchant, the second part is the recurring transaction cost and how does it work. We have Mastercard here. People are used on the merchant side on MDR and the traditional payment fees. it works per transaction. So one of the benefits of offline, if you go back to the infrastructure, is that in fact, we perform transaction with devices that have already been issued, and there is no real infrastructure cost until you go online and you reconcile on the blockchain with your smart contract. So to make it concrete in terms of example, if I pay Sabrina with what you've seen card to card offline, Sabrina then pays Mike, Mike pays Ashok, and Ashok pays you, Emric. We're speaking about 4 transactions in this flow. But as long as no one is going basically on the blockchain and reconciliating, we haven't performed a smart contract transaction. So it's only when you, Emric, decide to go on the blockchain and reconcile to use the money online that we will have actually one transaction. So on the merchant side, we're moving to potentially 4 transactions in this example to 1. So that's already a big reduction. And the second part, I think, has been covered in length by Sabrina. For this project, we've chosen one of the most efficient blockchain. I think Hedera is used to do a micropayment project on low-value transaction. It's because they have very low gas fee, very low transaction fee. So we're able, by performing transaction on a ledger like Hedera, to significantly reduce the transaction cost. So by putting both together, we're able to accept payment at the merchants, on the merchant side, recurring payment, for a fraction of the traditional payment cost. And on the second part of the question, which is programmability, I understand it was a big topic today, and yes. Congratulations again for this. It was a fantastic turnout, and even Laurence Wong was speaking about it this morning, so it's a significant achievement. Most of the features that we discussed on programmability can be, I would say, maintained offline. So double spending, for example, can be prevented with the proper encoding in the card. We can whitelist some merchant or blacklist some merchants. So it's basically a wallet address, so you can decide which merchants are basically allowed to be transacted to. I think he was using the example of giving money to the kids and ensuring that the kids are spending it only in specific situation. So those are things you can keep on the card and enable basically in the offline payment. So most of the features of programmability can be maintained in the offline environment, basically.
Well, thanks a lot, Romain and Sabrina, for those insights on this first pilot. So I want to touch a bit on the topic of payment efficiency that you just mentioned. So today, Mastercard is enabling merchants to settle on-chain with stablecoins. Maybe, Ashok, you can tell us a little bit more?
Surely. So, thank you. So firstly, I'd like to thank you for being here, consider the fact I'm the only one standing between you and the bar, which is opening in 10 more minutes. So I'll try and keep it interesting. So as Emric was saying, Mastercard has been in the crypto space for a couple of years now. We found a couple of big issues. We've got $900 billion worth of investment in digital assets. That's the size of the people, and 40% of that is sitting here in Asia. Right? In addition to that, there's like 90% of the central banks in the world are exploring some kind of digital currency, more digital currencies being in the market. Around 64 million wallets, which are on a global level, a big chunk of it sit here in Asia. So Mastercard came up with a number of different solutions to solve for this. And the reason we did that was because we were hearing back from our customers to say, we had trouble off-ramping funds from our digital wallets. Some of the merchants just didn't feel comfortable accepting digital currencies because they didn't know from the time of transaction to the time of settlement, how much would they actually get in hand. So that's what the merchant issues. And then the wallet providers had a bunch of issues as well in providing services to their customers. So we came up with a solution which solves all of these issues. What we did was we came up with a crypto card, which allows you to off-ramp funds directly from your wallet into the merchant. And the way we do that is that we convert the crypto assets into fiat, so that way the merchant can use it and make downstream payments. Right? A sensible way to solve for a problem, but obviously we want to kind of make sure the customers stay crypto native. So the way we went about doing that is at the settlement part. How do we make sure the settlement part stays crypto native? There we go. You moving? All right. So today, the way it works is that the issuer will receive a settlement notice in fiat. Based on that, they will send the monies in fiat. So basically, the crypto exchange will have to convert their crypto assets into fiat, which can be then sent to the merchant. It's a difficult task, a lot of movement, a lot of steps. It takes a lot more time than it should really do. So what we came up with is a way for merchants to receive the funds in fiat. However, the crypto exchanges to pay the monies out in stable coins. Now, it does a couple of different things, right? It allows the users and the wallet providers to stay crypto native. It improves liquidity so that if they don't have fiat on hand, they don't have to go exchange for fiat before they can pay it out. They can continue to maintain everything in a digital currency in stable coins. It increases efficiency. It's much faster, much cheaper, and simplified processes. For the bank, it makes it much easier because they can actually target a different type of clientele which they weren't catering to before, right? And more additionally, they have better reconciliation, better transparency by doing this. And the way we went about doing this is partnering up with a company like StraitsX, which Amerik told you has got around 6 billion transactions in Singapore dollars on chain and over 3 million Indonesian rupiah on their IDR solution. Now, the future state looks like this, where a settlement notice can be sent out either in fiat or in stablecoins. Once the settlement notice is received, the wallet provider can send out the settlement amount to Mastercard in stablecoin, and has a little hop where StraitsX will support us in potentially converting the stablecoin of SGD into fiat and sending it to Mastercard. Mastercard then would send that funds to the merchants, so that way the merchant can receive funds in fiat. So a couple of benefits here. Operational liquidity benefits. You've got improved visibility, as we touched upon, greater transparency, eases conversion pressures on the crypto exchange, so that way they don't have to keep converting on every single transaction. And the most important part is that front to back, everything is done using cryptocurrencies, and therefore they can maintain and stay crypto native. Amerik?
Thanks a lot, Ashok. We know that Mastercard runs similar pilots in the US and the UK. What are your views about the opportunity for Mastercard in APAC specifically?
So, we tested the use of stablecoins for settlement purposes in the US and the UK earlier this year. And we feel, as I mentioned before, in Asia, there's a large chunk of people using digital currencies, and they need a way to off-ramp those funds into regular day-to-day payments. And we see a greater potential of this using your services with StraitsX and some of the other stablecoins we're partnered up with as well, and a potential growth market across the region.
What type of companies do you think can most benefit from Mastercard bringing stablecoins onto its network?
Well, I mean, we work with banks and we work with merchants. We feel both the banks and the merchants can benefit from this. Merchants because they can actually comfortably accept stablecoins or fiat, whichever they choose to, and they don't have to worry about any kind of fluctuation. Mastercard will guarantee the settlement process, so that way you have one piece. And on the bank side, the banks are comfortable because we are a well-known name which has done this for a number of years. We are providing the connectivity between the two parties. Therefore, as a result, both the banking, the financial institution side, and the merchants could definitely benefit from this solution.
Right, and we've seen Mastercard pretty active in the digital asset space in the recent past. Can you tell us, what's next for Mastercard now?
Surely, there's a number of things. Obviously, we talked about the card program. We have started taking digital currencies on our network for settlement purposes. We are introducing a number of solutions on our, which is going to be announced in the next couple of weeks, where you'll have the ability to do a lot more things with digital currencies by staying crypto native. We've got some identity solutions which we are going to be coming up with. And also we have a number of solutions around CBDCs where we are assisting the central banks on a global level to see if the CBDC is a feasible solution for them, and if it's feasible, how would they actually implement it, and more importantly, how would they make it so it's adaptable, so people actually use a digital currency, especially a central bank digital currency. And finally, how do you actually connect it to today's networks, like the card network, to the bank's network? So those are some of the things that we've been working on. And as I said, some news is coming in the next couple of weeks, so we look forward to sharing it with you.
Well, thanks a lot, Ashok. Right now we are going to enter the last segment of this showcase. So I'm going to turn to Mike, who's from Carbon Seed. The Carbon Seed project is particularly refreshing. I think today we'll be talking about carbon credit markets. One of the big challenges in this space for carbon market infrastructure is the barrier to entry for some of the offset projects. And so Mike will tell us like how blockchain and stablecoin can help. I think we have a video.
Governments are committed to limiting global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. But according to the UN, the past 7 years have been the hottest on record, and scientists warn that time is fast running out. We are at a tipping point. Drastic actions need to be taken to reduce and sequester greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. However, it is not realistic for many sectors to decarbonize overnight. Despite best efforts by companies to reduce their Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions, there will be residual emissions which could be abated through the use of voluntary carbon credits. Today, the majority of carbon credits issued are by large project developers and the industry relatively opaque with stringent accounting standards, making it extremely tedious and costly, deterring smaller stakeholders from entering. At Carbon Seed, we aim to be a one-stop platform for carbon project discovery, monitoring, and financing. With tech at the forefront, we leverage AI to discover new carbon opportunities for stakeholders. Buyers can transact with stable coins, and all carbon removal activities are tracked with IoT sensors, providing more transparency and accountability to all. Carbon Seed's fully managed solutions streamline the manual processes of issuing credits from years to minutes, while bringing all the rigor of traditional methods. Join us on our journey to sequester carbon while enhancing the livelihoods of local communities.
Hi everyone, Mike. So we are here to create a more accessible carbon market for everyone. Right? So yeah, just before we dive too deep into what we do, just to be very clear here, what we're trying to do is actually carbon removal, because we believe that using carbon removal is the only way to go beyond net zero and achieve our climate goals. And from the video, you've seen that we know that the carbon market is very big, is growing, but yet it's only in the hands of a powerful few, and a lot of smaller stakeholders couldn't capitalize on this. Right? Even the CEO of Vera, one of the largest voluntary carbon registries in the world, also agrees to this statement. And so why is there an issue here? Right? As you've seen from these dragon tail processes, right? It's going to be very tedious and it's costly every step along the way. And there's so many processes, it's bound to be very opaque, and it's very difficult for smaller stakeholders to come into play. So, and the worst thing is, be it whether you're a big corporation, you're a small business, or maybe a smallholder farmer, right? You all have to go through the same processes. And that means, typically you have an idea for a project, you go to a consultancy, they charge you exorbitant prices, and from there on, you try to go through every single step. And we are here to simplify this process, and we do project discovery, management, and financing. Right? So I'll go in depth into what we do at every step. So for project discovery, essentially we're trying to highlight these 6 steps, squash them down, right? So that you can just simply hop onto our group project. We are being much more scalable this way. You don't have to go and create projects yourself every single time. And for management, what we're trying to do is, again, pick out 3 steps, squash them down, and we want to use IoT to make a seamless experience for monitoring, reporting, and verification. Right now, a lot of things are still on paper, pen, and Excel. And we want to end that, to create like a fully managed end-to-end tracking, giving transparency to buyers and auditors. For financing, again, what we're going to do is squash these steps down, so you don't have to worry about finding a buyer, finding pre-sales, listing them on exchanges. We have you do all this, and we find easy access to capitals, to set up machines, operating liquidity, and also credit revenues. So just now was an overview of what we do at Carbon Seed. We want to also highlight the technology behind this and how StraitsX is actually enabling this venture. Right? So be it whether you're just an individual consumer, a marketplace, or an exchange, you can actually issue funds through the mean of such as stablecoin XHGD to us, and we are a distributor. And we will distribute this money accordingly to farmers or millers or plantations who are actually doing the hard work removing carbon. So now we can dive a little bit in depth into what exactly I mean, right? So let's say I'm a consumer, right, and I have this purpose-bound money that I issue to Carbon Seed, right, and Carbon Seed will be in charge of distributing them. Now on the farmer side, all they have to care is just do the work. We have IoT embedded into the machines, and they will record onto the blockchain. Now the great thing about being on the blockchain is that you can have programmable smart contracts, right? So once certain milestones are validated, the contract can automatically disperse the amount. So transaction could be made in say XIDR to the farmer, and this could also mean that there will be greater transparency via tracking to the consumer, knowing that when money has been transferred. So why are we using blockchain or Web3 in particular? So because of the efficient cross-border transfers, I think a lot of the other speakers also have been talking about it, right? We operate regionally. Some of our farms are in Indonesia, for instance. Real-time monitoring with blockchain, real-time monitoring with IoT and then uploading to the blockchain gives immutable data, right? That creates assurances and that fetches higher quality credits. In return, gives better prices, and we are again distributing this benefit back to the farmers. And this automated disbursement via smart contract that creates more accountability and transparency. And finally, the tokenization of carbon credits will prevent double accounting during retirement, right? So this is our first project. We are actually spearheading with a company called Subatiasa in Malaysia, right? So why are we doing biochar in particular, right? So biochar is actually made from organic waste, right? Once you go through a process of pyrolysis, which is heating without oxygen, right? So you can see, we are at the farm, here's wood waste I'm holding right on the left, and then once it goes through the process, it becomes this charcoal-like material, and it's a very affordable and effective way. Now, just to be clear, this charcoal thing, we don't burn it, right? It's not meant for barbecue, right? Actually, we put it to the ground so that the carbon is actually sequestered. And we could reach a very wide audience through this affordable and effective technology, right? So actually, I have some biochar here with us, right? So this is our first batch of experiments, right? And more will be coming soon, the next year. And we have some exciting news lined up as well. This is not our only project, and we'll be scaling up very fast. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Why do you think it's important to leverage blockchain technology and stablecoins to enable this carbon market infrastructure?
Well, I mentioned just now that I think it boils down to three things, right? Which is efficiency, accountability, and transparency. So efficiency is quite clear-cut, right? Because of the, we operate regionally. We want to have a currency that can be transferred around very easily, right? For accountability, I think this programmable money, especially with this purposeful money, purposeful transactions, right? This will give the smart contract can automatically transact, right? Disperse. That means that there's less of a human intervention here, and we know that traditionally there has been some hoo-has in the carbon market, especially for fraud, right? And we want to come in to sort of like eliminate that with blockchain and stablecoin. Yeah.
Right. And I'm just curious, like, are there additional complexities or maybe challenges in building a blockchain-enabled platform compared to a more regular Web2 platform?
Yeah, definitely. The technology is pretty nascent now, right? And we are facing, we want to sort of like interface with many people. So it's sort of a balance, right? For instance, not everyone has wallets, for instance, right? So we have to strike a balance of like, the Web3 portion and the ease of access with Web2, right? I think you'll get better over time. It's a very nascent technology still, yeah.
Right, we'll definitely be keeping track. What are the most notable next milestones for Carbon Seed?
Well, I think, as I said just now, I think there's quite a bit of interesting stuff lined up for Carbon Seed. we are scaling up our biochar production very rapidly. We are looking for buyers to pre-sell these credits to. And following that, we are also going to look into, this methane-emitting bacteria for rice paddies as well, right? I think that's a huge market also. So I think we have quite a few things charted out for 2023 and 2024 already. Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks a lot to all of you. I think today we have seen a number of real-world stablecoin applications that are concrete, that are scalable, that are delivering value for end user. And on our part at StraitsX, we're excited to continue partnering with industry leaders. So if there's anyone in the room that want to reach out to us and build similar applications that are stablecoin based, you can definitely do so either here or at our booth. And I really want to thank, from the StraitsX team and myself, also Ashok from Mastercard, Mike from Carbon Seed, Romain from IDEMIA, and Sabrina from Hedera for joining us on this journey together. Thank you.
Thank you.